The moon has shaped human thought for thousands of years and has long been linked to mystery and wonder. For decades, the public has been told a straightforward story. Astronauts traveled there, planted flags, collected samples, and safely returned. However, beneath this familiar account lies a troubling claim that suggests a major discovery was deliberately kept from public view. Some believe the moon may not be what it appears to be, and that something on its far side may have been monitoring Earth for a very long time. In the mid-1960s, before any astronaut set foot on the lunar surface, the United States launched several secret missions to photograph the entire moon, including the side that never faces Earth. These images were classified as highly sensitive and were not sent directly to NASA. Instead, they were first delivered to the United States National Security Agency, where a special team inside a secure facility reviewed them before any information could be shared with NASA or the public. As part of lunar landing preparations, NASA deployed 5 small spacecraft to capture detailed images of the moon's surface. Due to national security regulations, every photograph had to be reviewed by the NSA before being passed on to NASA in 1965. Within the agency, a secret research unit examined each image closely, searching for unusual details. A former Air Force sergeant worked in a signal room, maintaining precision equipment such as advanced lenses and imaging devices. He was once called to an NSA facility for routine maintenance. Upon arrival, he noticed an unusual scene. The building was filled with foreign civilians, assisted by translators, working inside a large hangar-style area. The environment felt tense and tightly controlled. A second-rank Air Force pilot then led the technician into a dark room. There, the pilot quietly stated that a base had been found on the far side of the moon. Unsure whether this was serious, the technician asked for proof. The pilot showed him a composite image made from multiple blurred lunar photographs. As the blur was removed, the image revealed geometric buildings, towers, spherical structures, and extremely tall formations resembling antennas. Many of the constructions appeared organized and artificial. These structures showed features not consistent with natural geology. They displayed symmetry, straight lines, and repeating patterns, suggesting deliberate design. Some cast long shadows, indicating great height, while others seemed partly buried in the lunar surface. Their massive scale suggested a level of capability far beyond current human technology. Years after those classified images were analyzed in silence, humanity finally sent witnesses directly into lunar orbit, men whose voices were meant to be heard by the entire world. In July 1969, during the historic Apollo mission, astronauts entered lunar orbit while maintaining communication with mission control on Earth. The official transcripts of these communications are well documented, but according to multiple sources, certain transmissions were never made public. During one particular orbit over the far side of the moon, where direct communication with Earth is impossible due to the moon blocking radio signals, something extraordinary allegedly occurred. When the spacecraft emerged from behind the moon and re-established contact, one of the astronauts reportedly exclaimed with urgency and shock, describing massive objects that defied explanation. The astronaut stated that there were other spacecraft present, lined up on the far side of a crater, positioned on the moon itself, and that these objects appeared to be observing the Apollo mission. The tone conveyed genuine surprise and concern, not the calm, measured responses typical of trained astronauts following mission protocols. Then, according to these accounts, the radio signal was suddenly interrupted, the public broadcast was cut, and communications were allegedly switched to a secure channel. The scenes described by the astronauts were reportedly consistent with what had been observed in the classified photographs analyzed years earlier. The images captured through onboard cameras matched the descriptions provided during these tense moments in lunar orbit. This incident raises profound questions about what astronauts actually witnessed during Apollo missions and why certain information may have been withheld from public disclosure. If structures or objects were observed on the moon that could not be explained by natural phenomena or human activity, the implications would be staggering. The decision to interrupt transmissions and classify certain observations suggests that mission control was prepared for such discoveries and had protocols in place to manage information that could cause public panic or international incidents. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like so YouTube can recommend it to even more people. Tap the hype button right below if you're watching on your phone. What followed after Apollo may be even more revealing than what happened during the missions themselves. From May 1961 to December 1972, the Apollo program stood as one of humanity's greatest technological efforts. Over 11 years, it cost $25.5 billion. equal to more than 150 billion today. 11 missions flew under the Apollo name, from Apollo 7 to Apollo 17, and 6 successfully landed astronauts on the moon, returning them safely with samples, data, and photographs. Then the program ended suddenly, after Apollo 17 returned in December 1972. The United States stopped all manned lunar missions. No human has walked on the moon since. This decision was not caused by technical failure, lack of public interest, or an inability to continue, but by a policy choice made at the highest levels of government. At the time, the tools for continued exploration already existed. The Saturn V rocket was proven and reliable. Astronaut training was well established. Landing systems and mission control procedures worked consistently. Continuing lunar missions would have cost far less than developing the program in the first place. Yet instead of continuing at a reduced scale, the entire effort was shut down. Remaining Saturn V rockets were reassigned or placed in museums. Production lines were dismantled, and experienced teams moved on. Other nations followed a similar path. The Soviet Union ended its manned lunar plans. Russia later announced intentions to return, but never sent astronauts. China, despite advanced space capabilities and successful robotic landings, has also avoided manned lunar missions. This shared withdrawal suggests more than coincidence. Global space efforts shifted toward low Earth orbit, space stations, robotic probes, and deep space telescopes. Billions were spent exploring distant planets, while the moon, Earth's closest neighbor and a key strategic location, was avoided for human missions. Official explanations cite budget limits, shifting priorities, and fading public interest. These reasons do not fully explain why no nation has returned in over 50 years, despite massive advances in technology. By the time Apollo missions began, NASA already had detailed images of the moon, including its far side, from mid-1960s reconnaissance missions. Many of these images were classified or filtered through security agencies. Astronauts were sent not only as explorers but as observers to confirm what earlier data suggested. Some insiders have claimed astronauts received restricted briefings, avoided certain regions, and experienced radio interruptions when reporting unusual observations. Released transcripts contain gaps and inconsistencies, and some astronauts later hinted they saw things they could not discuss. The far side of the moon, permanently hidden from Earth, offers complete concealment and a clear view of our planet. If something intelligent was discovered there, the threat may not have been physical but informational. The realization that humanity was not alone or in control of near-Earth space could have been seen as too destabilizing. Ending manned lunar exploration may have been a deliberate response to a discovery that reshaped everything. So, could the moon be observed without ever leaving Earth? After the United States ended its moon landing program in 1972, lunar exploration did not stop. Instead, it moved in a far more secretive direction that did not rely on rockets or spacecraft. The Central Intelligence Agency began recruiting individuals believed to have unusual perceptual abilities for a classified effort, later known as the remote viewing experiment. Remote viewing is described as the ability to perceive distant locations, objects, or events using only the mind. Although it sounded unrealistic to many, the CIA considered it serious enough to support long-term research beginning in the 1970s. The Stanford Research Institute became the main center where these abilities were tested under controlled scientific conditions. One of the most notable participants was Ingo Swann, who repeatedly demonstrated an ability to describe distant locations using only geographic coordinates. He had no prior information about the targets, yet his descriptions often closely matched real locations. His sessions were conducted under strict protocols designed to prevent guessing or outside influence. The project was led by physicist Dr. Hal Puthoff, who applied scientific standards despite the unusual nature of the work. As Swann continued to show consistent results, he was given more difficult targets. The experiments expanded from Earth locations to planets, testing the limits of remote viewing. On April 27, 1973, Swann was asked to observe Jupiter, located about 640 million kilometers away. The session lasted only minutes, during which Swann described a ring around the planet. At that time, Jupiter's rings were unknown to science. Their existence was confirmed 7 months later, when Pioneer 10 sent back images. This result strengthened confidence in Swann's earlier and later sessions, including those involving the moon. In 1975, Swann was asked to remotely view the far side of the moon. Entering a deep altered state, he described structures that appeared artificial, including dome-like or transparent coverings. The buildings seemed designed for use rather than natural formation. As he focused more closely, Swann became visibly distressed and began sweating heavily. The session was stopped. He later explained that he perceived humanoid beings inside the structures. These figures appeared human-like, but with noticeable differences. Swan also claimed the beings became aware they were being observed, and began searching for the source. This frightened him deeply, and he refused further lunar sessions. If accurate, the experiment suggested the moon structures were active facilities inhabited by intelligent beings with advanced capabilities, possibly observing Earth from the moon's far side. Before judging the moon sessions, investigators looked back at the moment that changed everything. An observation no telescope had yet confirmed. The remote viewing experiments conducted by the CIA and the Stanford Research Institute sought to study the moon without using traditional technology. After Ingo Swann accurately described Jupiter's rings before their official discovery, his credibility within the intelligence community was firmly established. The Jupiter session showed that Swann could obtain correct information about distant astronomical targets using only coordinates or focused intent. This success strengthened confidence in his later lunar observations, especially of the moon's far side, which cannot be seen from Earth. In 1975, Swann remotely viewed the moon and gave detailed descriptions. He reported dome-like structures made of glass or crystalline materials, covering what appeared to be active facilities. The design suggested advanced engineering well beyond known human capabilities. He also described areas that looked like mining or excavation sites, with machinery moving materials in organized ways. Swann observed tall tower or antenna-like structures that appeared to serve communication or sensing purposes. Some regions showed geometric surface patterns that did not resemble natural formations. Most notably, Swann reported humanoid beings inside these structures. He described them as engaged in routine tasks such as monitoring systems or operating equipment. Their behavior suggested organization and purpose. He could not determine whether their adaptation to the lunar environment was biological or technological. The most unsettling moment occurred when Swann sensed that these beings became aware they were being observed. This implied they possessed perceptual abilities capable of detecting focused consciousness across great distances, challenging current understanding of perception. The CIA considered Swann's results significant enough to classify the findings and continue funding remote viewing programs for years. The sustained investment suggests intelligence agencies believed the information had value, even though the process itself remained unexplained by conventional science. And if something intelligent was truly operating on the moon, the next question becomes even more unsettling. What exactly is the moon itself? Long before modern space programs existed, scientists were already struggling to explain why the moon shouldn't exist at all. For more than a century, scientists have proposed four main theories for the moon's origin. What? These include fission, where the moon split from Earth; conformation, where both formed together; capture, where Earth trapped a wandering body; and the giant impact theory, which suggests debris from a massive collision formed the moon. While the giant impact theory is most accepted, it does not fully explain all lunar anomalies. This gap led to a fifth hypothesis, that the moon is artificial. In the 1960s, Soviet scientists Mikhail Vasin and Alexander Shabakov argued that the moon's structure, orbit, and composition conflict with natural formation. One major anomaly is size. Earth's moon is unusually large, about 27% of Earth's diameter, far larger in proportion than any other moon of a terrestrial planet. Its orbit adds to the mystery. The moon sits at a distance where it appears the same size as the sun, enabling perfect solar eclipses unique in the solar system. It is also precisely tidally locked, always showing one face to Earth. Its low density suggests an unusual interior, possibly lacking a large iron core. Apollo seismic tests showed the moon vibrated for hours after impacts, behaving unlike solid rock. Lunar rocks contain unexpected elements, and some craters are unusually shallow, hinting at a hard subsurface. If engineered, the moon's placement could stabilize Earth's climate, create tides essential for life, and serve as a long-term observation platform. This raises deeper questions about who created it, why, and whether the moon is still an active presence rather than a natural object. And the deeper scientists examined the moon's behavior, the harder it became to believe its orbit was accidental. Its position in space may be the most precise coincidence humanity has ever encountered. Beyond its size and composition, the moon's orbit presents further anomalies that challenge standard explanations. Its path around Earth is nearly circular, with very low eccentricity compared to most natural satellites. This is unusual for a body that was captured by gravity, which would normally follow a more elongated and irregular orbit. The moon's orbital plane is tilted only about 5 degrees relative to Earth's orbit around the sun. This small inclination supports stable tidal patterns and allows regular eclipses. A naturally captured object would more likely show a wider, less orderly tilt, reflecting the randomness of its capture. The Moon is also slowly moving away from Earth at a rate of about 3.8 centimeters per year, due to tidal interactions. When this rate is projected backward in time, it suggests the Moon would once have been extremely close to Earth, possibly close enough to be torn apart by tidal forces. This creates a problem for natural formation theories, which must explain how the Moon formed at a safe distance while still matching its current recession rate. The Moon's gravitational role is critical for Earth. It stabilizes Earth's axial tilt at about 23.5 degrees, preventing extreme shifts that would cause severe climate instability. Without the Moon, Earth's tilt could vary dramatically over millions of years, making long-term climate balance and complex life far less likely. Lunar gravity also drives ocean tides, which may have been essential for life's transition from sea to land. Tidal cycles create environments where chemical compounds can concentrate and adapt to changing conditions, supporting evolutionary development. These combined effects raise an important question. Are the Moon's precise distance, mass, and orbital properties the result of chance, or do they reflect intentional placement? If an advanced civilization sought to create stable conditions for life on Earth, positioning a large satellite with these exact characteristics would be a highly effective solution. If the Moon's role is strategic rather than natural, it wouldn't be the first time humans tried to claim it for power. During the Cold War, the Moon wasn't just a scientific target, it was a potential battlefield. After the Berlin airlift of 1948, Western powers, especially the United States, recognized big and unresolved differences between their post-war goals and Stalin's vision of a new global order. As the Cold War intensified, the United States and the Soviet Union competed in both nuclear weapons and space exploration. Alongside weapons development, both nations began planning for a permanent human presence on the Moon as a way to gain a strategic advantage. Although the United States held early nuclear superiority, the Soviet space program surged ahead in the late 1950s. In October 1957, the Soviets launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite to orbit Earth. This event shocked the United States and raised fears that space dominance could lead to military superiority. President Dwight Eisenhower responded by treating space as a national security priority. In 1958, Eisenhower replaced the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics with NASA, shifting American efforts toward winning the space race. During this time, Wernher von Braun, the former German rocket engineer, became a key figure in the U.S. program. His team soon began designing a classified military moon base for the U.S. Army called Project Horizon. The plan aimed to establish a 12-soldier outpost by 1966 for $6 billion, supplied by Saturn rockets and requiring more than 250 tons of materials. The project was kept highly secret. At the same time, the U.S. Air Force pursued its own plans. A 1958 top-secret proposal called the Lunar Expedition Base outlined an underground moon installation with a manned landing targeted for 1967. This later evolved into the Lunex project, which sought to place a military base on the Moon and counter Soviet threats. Lunex envisioned a reusable spacecraft similar to the Space Shuttle, and a base housing 21 astronauts within 10 years. The program focused on military dominance rather than exploration. Lunex was ultimately abandoned due to technical challenges, budget limits, and the growing demands of the Vietnam War. Funding shifted to NASA's civilian Apollo program. Many historians believe this decision prevented space from becoming a direct military battlefield. The Soviet Union pursued similar ambitions. In 1962, it launched a secret moon base project called Zvezda, designed to deploy concealed mobile habitation modules protected by lunar soil. Early progress stalled after repeated failures of the N-1 rocket, which exploded during multiple test launches. Without a reliable launch vehicle, the Soviet moon base plan collapsed, ending both nations' military ambitions for permanent lunar settlements.
Lunokhod 1 became the first remotely controlled robotic rover to freely travel across the Moon's surface. Known as Moonwalker 1, it was developed under the Soviet Lunokhod program, which aimed to support future human moon missions by surveying landing sites and testing equipment in the harsh lunar environment. The rover reached the Moon aboard the Luna 17 spacecraft in November 1970. Its advanced systems collected critical data on lunar soil, radiation, and surface conditions. Lunokhod 1 transmitted more than 20,000 images and 200 detailed panoramic photographs back to Mission Control in Moscow. Although designed to operate for only 3 lunar days, or about 90 Earth days, it far exceeded expectations and remained active for 11 lunar days, nearly a full Earth year. Under the guidance of a 5-person control team on Earth, Lunokhod 1 traveled roughly 11 kilometers across rugged terrain filled with rocks and craters. It carried cameras, spectrometers, and tools to study soil mechanics. On September 14, 1971, the anniversary of Sputnik 1's launch, communication with the rover was suddenly lost. Despite repeated attempts, contact was never restored. Soviet engineers concluded the rover had likely suffered a serious failure or become stuck beyond recovery. In late 2010, nearly 40 years later, American and French scientists conducting lunar laser ranging experiments detected a strong reflected signal from an unknown object on the moon. The object was identified as lunar 1. Remarkably, its retroreflector array was still intact and returning signals stronger than expected, finally revealing its precise location. This rediscovery raised new questions. The rover's apparent functionality suggested its earlier silence may not have been caused by complete mechanical failure. Some researchers speculated that lunar 1 encountered unexpected conditions, or that its transmissions were halted for undisclosed reasons. The lunar program reflected the Soviet Union's determination to maintain a lunar presence after abandoning crewed missions. With humans unable to go, robotic explorers took their place. The sudden loss of lunar 1 and its later rediscovery decades afterward remain one of the more puzzling episodes in the history of lunar exploration. After reviewing the moon's unusual structure, cancelled missions, classified images, astronaut testimony, remote viewing claims, and the shared decision by spacefaring nations not to return, a central question remains. Is humanity being observed from the moon? For most of history, the moon has been seen as a symbol of mystery and guidance, marking time and shaping myths across cultures. Yet when viewed through reports of suppressed discoveries, it appears less like a passive object and more like a purposeful presence. The moon is unusually large, positioned to stabilize Earth's rotation and climate. It is precisely tidally locked, always facing Earth while hiding its far side. Its surface shows shallow craters, unusual metal concentrations, and seismic behavior that suggests an interior unlike solid rock. During Apollo experiments, impacts caused vibrations lasting for hours. Lunar photographs were classified and routed through intelligence agencies before reaching NASA. Apollo communications were cut when astronauts reported unexpected observations. Despite having proven rockets and infrastructure, the moon program ended suddenly in 1972. Plans for permanent bases were abandoned, and no nation has returned humans to the moon for more than 50 years. Taken together, these details suggest coordinated avoidance rather than coincidence. The idea of a base on the moon's far side is significant. That region is permanently hidden from Earth and offers a perfect position for continuous observation. From there, all Earth activity could be monitored without detection. The moon's lack of atmosphere, low gravity, and stable position make it an ideal observation platform. Some researchers propose the moon's role extends beyond observation. Many biological rhythms align with lunar cycles, and Earth's habitability depends heavily on the moon's influence. If life on Earth were intentionally guided, the moon could serve as a stabilizing anchor in a long-term study of evolution. The most unsettling possibility is that any observer remains passive, allowing humanity to develop on its own. This raises further questions. What happens when humans reach a level where their presence on the moon can no longer remain concealed? Was the end of lunar exploration a boundary quietly enforced? Until answers emerge, the moon remains above us, silent and unchanged, while the question of whether it has been watching all along remains unresolved. Whether the moon is an ancient artifact, an observation platform, or something beyond current human comprehension, the evidence suggests it is far more than a natural satellite. The greatest mystery may not be what is on the moon, but why humanity has been prevented from discovering the truth. As technology advances and new generations demand answers, the secrets hidden on the far side of the moon may not remain secret forever. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming journeys. And if you enjoy exploring NASA's fascinating secrets, check out my video on what's happening on Saturn, where the US military just released classified NASA footage showing a massive 2,000-mile-long object near Saturn. Click on the card that appears on the screen now. Enjoy the video.